how are you? So the other day I was watching a YouTube video about a movie, as I often do, and I thought, oh, that's really cool, it would be really cool if I could make videos about movies on my channel. And then I realised I can, because it's my channel and I can do whatever the heck I want. So here I am, I'm making a video about some movies. I go to the cinema a lot, quite a lot. And in October last month I saw 3 newly released movies that just came out here in the UK, so I'm going to tell you about those and what I thought. I am not a movie buff, I'm not someone who makes short films on YouTube, so I'm not trying to seem like one of those people. I just like movies and I like talking about them, so we'll see how this goes. The first movie I saw in October was The Walk, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and directed by Robert Zemeckis, who is known for so many movies. 2 that I really like from all the movies he's done are Castaway and The Polar Express. What an interesting career. So The Walk is a movie about Philippe Petit. Philippe Petit is a high wire walker, a French high wire walker, and in the 1970s he decided he was going to walk on a high wire between the Twin Towers in New York. I'm getting nervous again just talking about this. It's a completely true story. It's based on a book by Philippe Petit himself, and he also actually, interestingly, gave high wire lessons to Joseph Gordon-Levitt so we could do it in the movie. So he was involved in the process, so I like to think that it's very true to real life. If you've seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt's TV show Hit Record, and I very much recommend that you do, it's on Netflix, it's a website, it's a movement, it's this really cool thing that he does. In Hit Record he is this kind of showman when he introduces the show. He's suited and booted and he's all smiles and he looks directly at the camera and he welcomes you and tells you about that episode. And that, if you're familiar with that Joseph Gordon-Levitt, that's who we get at the start of this movie. He is standing on top of the Statue of Liberty, CGI, with 1970s New York in the background, more special effects. And he's Philippe Petit and he talks to the camera and he introduces himself and his story, and throughout the film it cuts back to him standing on the Statue of Liberty, sort of explaining or reflecting on what has happened at that particular point in his life. And it's different, it's nice. I'm a lover of stories and I can never really get away from being a lover of narrators, so that was really nice. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's French accent is really good. He also speaks French in the movie, and I'm told that he learned to do that fluently for the purpose of the film. There's lots of French actors in it who are all fabulous, and I'm sorry that I can't remember or probably pronounce their names. The movie shows Philippe's life story as a child and how he got into tightrope walking, and then it moves to this goal, this terrifying, unfathomable goal of walking a high wire between the Twin Towers, and how he gets to that point of carrying out that goal. And it's really interesting because it kind of plays out like a typical like break-in robbery sort of film with the planning and the team and the secrecy, because it's not, I mean, I don't know that there's a particular clause that says it is illegal to walk on a high wire between the Twin Towers, but certainly it's entering a building that they weren't permitted to enter. It is incredibly tense. I don't think it tries to sort of scare you or make you anxious or anything like that. I guess the most interesting part is that when true story movies are made, or movies about a particular person who's important to history, they usually have a much broader kind of storyline. It's usually not about this one single-minded life goal, which, I mean, in reality takes about an hour and then it's done, and we've watched someone's life story to get to that point. I think that's really interesting, and it is like a selfish goal, and that's part of the movie, is that he's a very self-centered person who kind of is gonna go after this no matter how many relationships he has to sever in the process. And so it was really interesting to watch a movie that is just about that one thing, and yet, and this was really quite important and emotional when he's up there in the clouds, because when you get that high up in the sky, there's clouds up there just hanging out. When he's walking between the Twin Towers, you honestly can't help, at least I couldn't help, thinking about 9/11. It's just there. It has this presence in those clouds, and it becomes strangely emotional, and they don't even have to allude to it, although at the end of the movie our narrator does in fact. And so yeah, it's incredibly strange and incredibly sad that just because of the year we're watching it in, the perspective we have, that something that's one man's very single-minded life goal, dream the impossible dream, becomes sort of part of history. It becomes wrapped up in this bigger thing. So that was really nice. I really liked it. French accents, good high wire walking, terrifying, not gonna try at home. The second movie that I saw in October was Crimson Peak, directed by Guillermo del Toro, who is known for lots of movies. I need to stop saying that. He has quite a cult following. He's known for Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy and those kind of movies. It stars Mia Wasikowska, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston, among a few others. Mia I really like. She did Jane Eyre with Michael Fassbender a few years ago, so I think she's great. It's supposed to be a gothic romance, something I didn't know going into it. I honestly didn't really know what it was about when I went, and then in the first 20 minutes I became terrified that I'd accidentally sat down to watch a horror film. But it's kind of like, I'm going to go back to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but you know in 500 Days of Summer it starts and the narrator says this is a story about love, but it's not a love story. In a similar sense, this movie is a movie about ghosts, but it's not a ghost story. It's not frightening. It's really not scary, unless maybe you're a small child, and I think, I don't know, is that where it was let down for me? I'm not sure. It's definitely not scary. There are these ghosts, so we'll premise. Mia plays Edith Cushing. She lives in late 19th century America. Her father is a businessman who has lots of money. He's a wealthy white man, and their social circle very much consists of wealthy business people. She's an only child because her mother died when she was very young, and at the start of the movie, when she's a child, the ghost of her mother visits her in her bedroom, and it is a bit spooky, bit tense, and so we learn that she can see ghosts, and that's an important part of the film, shockingly enough. So Tom Hiddleston, with his English accent, quoting Jane Eyre, comes swanning in and sweeps her off her feet, and she ends up going to live with him and his quite weird sister, played by Jessica Chastain, in England, in an old house that is falling apart. It's rotting and it's literally sinking into the ground. The best thing about this film by far is that it's visually so stunning. Oh my goodness, the set is incredible. I was watching an interview with Mia Wasikowska and she said that it's the most beautiful set she's ever worked on. Del Toro said something similar. It's just beautiful. They built this like to scale 4-story building with stairs and everything so that they could run around in it, and it's just gorgeous. Like, the costumes are gorgeous, the architecture is gorgeous, the colours are gorgeous. It was really, really stunning, and I think that's what captivated me throughout the middle part. The start of the movie I was kind of figuring out what genre this is and what's happening. The middle I was not really into it, so I just enjoyed how beautiful it was, and the last 30 minutes it had me again and it got very dramatic. Basically, she finds out that her husband, because she marries Tom Hiddleston's character, he is not really who he seems, and he's had some lovers in the past, and his sister is very much at the centre of why he's being secretive, and they both have a big old dark history together. And so it's about her figuring that out, and it's sort of a romance, I guess, and it's sort of a ghost story, and I don't know, I felt like the story itself just wasn't there for me. I just didn't get into it as much as I wanted to. Jessica Chastain was incredible though, just terrifyingly intense, like her eyes just, oh, scary lady, would not like to make her angry. So I enjoyed that, and definitely worth even just googling some pictures of the set, because it was really very beautiful. And finally we went to see Spectre, the new James Bond film, directed by Sam Mendes, who did Skyfall, the last one, and starring Daniel Craig, Ralph Fiennes, Naomi Watts, Christoph Waltz, and French name, and Léa Seydoux, or I could be pronouncing that completely wrong. Great cast. The Bond films always have a great cast. I know some people really aren't James Bond fans. I was brought up in James Bond movies. I get that they're kind of problematic and that the James Bond character as he was back then doesn't really fit in with our cool, progressive, modern, feminist ideas of the world. So I know that and I have that in mind, but I do really enjoy the films. I think Daniel Craig is just great. I think he's so great. I love the cheese, and there is a good amount of cheesy dialogue, predictable, cheesy, proper James Bond dialogue in Spectre. I did not like it as much as I liked Skyfall, because I loved Skyfall. Same goes for the theme song, funnily enough. It was good. I like James Bond because they film on location and you get to see a few different cities, so that's always really nice. It was very long. I feel like they were tying up every possible loose end, because I think it's the last movie that Daniel Craig is doing as Bond, and so I suppose it was fitting to just close every possible chapter. And I really wish Naomi Watts had had more lines in this one, because in Skyfall she did quite a bit. She held a gun, she did some cool stunts and stuff, but in this one she really did not get enough lines. It made me sad. I feel like there's not really much point in retelling the storyline, because it's a James Bond movie. James Bond is a spy. He works for the British government. In London, MI5 or MI6 or whatever they're called are coming into a new kind of generation and a new way of thinking, that one man, one assassin can't be responsible for the security of millions of people. So Andrew Scott's character, Andrew Scott's in it actually, I forgot to mention him, Moriarty in Sherlock, he wants to impose a kind of more Big Brother approach where there's a lot of CCTV and a lot of phone tapping and that type of thing, as opposed to James Bond, who just goes and kills the bad guy. So that's at the heart of it, and then James Bond is doing his thing regardless of whether he's allowed to or not, and he's going after the bad guys, and he has a beautiful lady on his arm. I mean, there's a couple of nice moments. There's one where he tries to teach her how to hold and shoot a gun, but it turns out she's actually very experienced at shooting and that kind of thing. So that's, you know, ooh, turning the stereotype on its head or whatever, basically. It gave me what I expected: car chases and explosions and helicopters and beautiful dresses and tuxedos and London and jokes and cheesy dialogue and a little bit of romance. It did exactly what it says on the tin, as you would say. And that's it. Those are the 3 movies that I saw in October that were released in the UK in October. I liked them all. None really jumped out as I love this movie and I'm gonna watch it again and again until I die type thing, but I enjoyed all 3 of them. Okay, cool, this was fun. I enjoyed this. Let me know if you enjoyed this, and if you want me to ramble about movies again sometime, that would be fun. Let me know if you saw any of those movies, or which movies you did see in October, or films. If you want to call them films, you can call them films. That's cool. Okay, I have to go and have some food. I'll see you very soon.